A professional counselor in the Dallas area is growing in popularity for his treatment methods.
Rusty Lozano is the founder of the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy.
The Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, your dedicated resource for mental health news, views, and tips you can use. Brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas. And now, here's Rusty.
And good afternoon. Welcome to the show. My name is Rusty Lozano, and I am your host. And you are listening to the Therapy Hour on KFXR Talk Radio 1190. Boy, we have a great show today. And this pertains to just about every household in the U.S. and really around the world, because if you have animals, cats, dogs, birds, that make space for these little creatures and their family members. But what, more importantly, what about dogs? That's one of the most common household pets that you see and you hear about. So I want to read you some fun facts, and then I want to introduce my guest, who is amazing, by the way. Jump right in. These are facts pulled up from the internet on pet ownership. There's an estimated 78 million dogs and 85.8 million cats that are owned in the United States. Approximately 44% of all households in the United States have a dog, and 35% have a cat. Moreover, approximately 7.6 million companion animals enter animal shelters nationwide every year. Of those, approximately 3.9 are dogs, and 3.4 million are cats. Those statistics are staggering. And I see animals all the time. There's a pet place close to my house, and you see little animals, little pets for sale in the window. You see them bringing in. I go to Bass Pro Shop, and I look around because it's one of my favorite hangouts, by the way. And you can bring in dogs, and you can bring them home to Home Depot. And then, I have friends on Facebook, and they post about their pets. And when they lose pets, and it's mortifying. This time last year, we had to put my Great Dane. She was a Harlequin Great Dane. Her name was Miley, and she was one of the best friends I've had in a long time. And aside from my family, but she was my family, but she was my four-legged friend. And now we have Momo, who's a Great Dane I got in replacement of her, and she's a Spitfire. So all over the place, animals, dogs. And so what do we do? Because you hear about animals chewing shoes. You hear about them running amok. You hear about them soiling the house, barking at other dogs, maybe biting people. So when is it time to seek out help, and can you help? And what sort of thing do you do to find the right kind of help? Where do you go? Well, my guest, Kimberly Artley, I've been speaking with her all this morning for a good while, and actually last week when we met, and she's just full of energy, awesome guest. But she's the founder of Packfit, and she's the author of the celebrated book, My Dog, My Buddha, which I just got my copy of, and I flipped through it, and I was just blown away. And I read the excerpt on Lobo, which I want to talk to you guys about. And anyway, she's been described as the Mary Poppins of dog training. Kimberly, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome. Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for being on, because I think that this is going to be a really insightful show for a lot of people. Your passion for dogs and the things that you do with Packfit and just the material in your book, just when I've read a little bit about it. But how long have you been doing this? And what is it exactly that you do?
Oh, gosh. Well, it's by name, it's a dog training and behavior company, but honestly, it's far more about training and educating the human end of the leash than anything. The dog really is the easy part. But we're a dog training and behavior company. We do private sessions. There's a board and train program that I have called a Stay and Learn. Just sounds nicer.
Yeah.
Where the dog comes and stays with us, depending on what's going on. There's every dog's an individual. Every situation is very unique. You really, honestly, you can't take a one size fits all approach when it comes to addressing any kind of challenge or issue. I mean, it's the same thing with humans. So,
yeah, you really can't, because you think about maybe a small dog with like a big dog mentality, and then maybe a big dog with like a meekish small dog mentality. Have you seen those? I mean, you run across that kind of scenario a lot?
Yeah, it's, well, it's, again, dogs are just as individual as we are. I mean, just like some people are more introverted, some people are more extroverted, some are more sensitive, some are more, just some not so much. I mean, they're going to have, there's various dimensions of, I mean, dogs have various dimensions just like we do. So, what I've found typically for the smaller dogs is, they have like an eternal supply of get out of jail free cards.
Right.
Because
they're cute.
People,
right.
Yeah. They're size, they're small, they're cute. People feel bad disciplining them. So there's no rules, there's no structure, there's no boundaries. They're not being taught, the ways of the world, how to navigate it. Nobody's helping them connect the dots. So they just spend the majority of their time in total reaction mode, because they haven't been equipped.
Let me ask you something. So
sure.
I was telling you earlier about how we rented a party bus for my daughter's 16th birthday.
Yeah.
We were going around Dallas, and they have these big signs, and they have their landmarks, and they're in front of one is in front of Deep Ellum and in different areas around Dallas. We ended up at Clyde Warren Park, and we were going to have cake there, and there was a bunch of kids, and they have food trucks, and here comes this guy, and dogs are allowed. Here comes this guy, and he's walking a puppy, and it's a baby German Shepherd, and its head is down, and you can tell it's a baby. It's little for one, but his ears are fluffy and down and kind of floppy as he's walking, and he's looking down, and he was just cute as can be. So we ran. I was like, hey, I told my daughter, I was like, Hannah, look. And she goes, oh my God. And so we all ran over and like, can we pet your dog, please? He's like, sure. Yeah. And so when we went to go pet the dog, that dog, it was a baby German Shepherd with its needle teeth, like turned, and it was like biting down on our hands and fingers like as hard as it possibly could. Like it was chewing it. In fact, like I have 2 cuts on my hand from where this dog's teeth actually dug into my hand. And it wasn't being aggressive. It was just it was like a play chew, but oh my gosh, dude, it was like, it hurt. We all pulled away and we're like, ow. He goes, yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you that
baby shark.
She bites. Yes. And it was, so we gave her the nickname Chompy. And so there's Chompy is like, oh, there goes Chompy. And we saw Chompy around the park. And, but what could somebody have done in a situation like that? Like, what is it that makes a dog, what's going through the dog's mind?
Well, it's just like, you have human babies and toddlers that are crawling around, they're sticking things in their mouths, like they're exploring all of their senses, touch, mouthfeel, taste, sight, sound, all of those things. I mean, there's a great deal of information. When dogs are born, they're born with firstly, they're born with their noses open, their eyes and their ears are closed. So that's how they first begin to identify with the world around them. So that's why it's so important, especially. Sense. Yeah. I mean, that's why when I meet a dog for the first time, for example, unfortunately for dogs, this can be very overwhelming to many, many dogs too. Is as soon as we see a dog, we think that we're entitled to getting up in their personal space and in their grill and just touching them all over the place, which can really set. I mean, some dogs, there are some dogs that are just cool as cucumbers and they just roll with it, and they're, nothing really phases them. Yeah. And I've met a few of those dogs, but for the majority of the dogs, we have a lot of high-strung, nervous, anxious, stressed, whatever types of dogs. But not all dogs are going to be comfortable with strangers. It's like if I walked up to you and I'd never met you before, I didn't know you from Adam, and I got within an inch of your face and I was like, hey, my name's Kim, how are you? And then I started touching you all over. Yeah. You would probably, like, depending on your personality, you would probably back up and be like, whoa, lady, like personal space.
Right,
like,
right.
Or you would just clock me, or you would, whatever. Unfortunately for dogs, because they are cute and furry and, everybody has this like insatiable need to touch them.
Yeah. And they totally feel like it's okay for you to go and just, everything you're saying is making perfect sense. From like the senses and like he's chewing and exploring his senses with my hand.
Yeah.
And like he's chewing, he goes, oh, this is kind of fleshy. What is this? And so
that's true. But we also want to teach him. It's up to us. You know, we separate them from their mother and their siblings. We bring them into our homes, into our, you know, quote unquote packs, our families.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's up to us. They're not born understanding the ways of our world. They're not born understanding what we consider to be appropriate, polite, respectful behavior. So the onus 100% falls upon us to teach them this, to guide them, to way show, that to help them connect those necessary dots, because we are raising future canine citizens. Just like with kids, we are raising future adults, you know, future adult citizens. So, you know, but where the kicker is we can't teach, we can't lead, we can't way show, we can't connect the dots, and we can't guide without first understanding how to communicate effectively. They are a completely different species of animal. And we get...
No, that's great. I think let's start with that, communicating effectively. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back after these messages.
How do you know what is fact versus opinion with all the fake news these days? You go to Talk Radio 1190 and tune into the new show, Chasing the Truth, every Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. They'd even like for you to be part of the show. How? Just listen to the topics about politics, sports, economy, and current events. Call in and give them your opinion. But warning, you must have facts to back up your opinion, or you'll be booted off the air. Chasing the Truth every Friday from 3 to 5. Great new show with a great new format that's sure to raise some eyebrows.
I'm back. That little voice inside your head. We both know going to Office Depot Office Max for 50% off print services is super smart. And your biz could use an Epson printer for $70 off. Now $79.99. Plus 50% off signs and banners? Oh, you deserve this. So let's go. Office Depot Office Max.
Taking care of business.
Offers end 11/18. Limit 1. Get 50% off coupon in-store or visit OfficeDepot.com/save.
When you're hiring, you want qualified candidates fast, and it can be hard to know where to find them. More than 3 million businesses use Indeed.com, the world's #1 job site. Whether you need entry-level or highly skilled employees, Indeed helps you find great talent and make the right hire. Indeed is offering new users a $50 credit to give their first job post premium visibility as a sponsored job. Redeem this offer at Indeed.com/promo. That's Indeed.com/promo. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
You can help bring joy to a child with special needs by donating a new unwrapped toy to the Warren Center. The toys will be distributed at their annual Operation Santa event, where over 300 children with developmental delays and disabilities will be in attendance. Drop off your gift at the Warren Center, located at 320 Custer Road in Richardson.
Hi, we're back. If you're just joining us, we're talking 4 paws and a wagging tail with Kimberly Artley. She is the Mary Poppins of dog training, and she's with an organization called Packfit, which we're going to talk about later on in the segment. But before the break, we started talking about an experience I had with this little puppy that came up to. We went up to it. Let's be fair. She was just kind of walking along with her owner, and we saw how cute she was, and we wanted to pet and feel her little fur on our hands. So we asked, "Can we pet your dog?" And so then all these hands came over and started petting all over her, and I was petting her ears, and because they look so soft and cute. And so then she started to chew on my hand, and so it wasn't a behavioral thing, but it was like really a senses thing. But then over the break, you were kind of bringing up some really interesting things that, you know, we're all in their face, and we're doing things without their permission. And
well, you know, there's the one argument on one side of it. You know, there's a very critical window in a young dog's life where we want to expose them to as many situations and scenarios and like other cats and other dogs and kids and, you know, whatever. So they're not completely taken off guard when they are put in those situations. That's the critical socialization period that many dogs don't unfortunately, they don't really get. Nobody really invests. Well, not nobody. Not many people invest the time and energy and attention into, because we have this going on in our lives, that going on. We've got this many kids. We've got our jobs. You've got whatever.
Yeah,
so
it's like your dog just needs to sit there and look cute, but you have to you have to actually spend time and do things with them and train them.
But we have to expose them to different things so that they can make sense of it. They understand it. They know that it's not a threat, so it's,
is there a window of time that you do that? Like,
usually, I mean, the word on the street, the word on the behaviorist street, is, between like 6 and 12 months of age. That's a pretty critical window for a lot of dogs as far as exposure goes.
Yeah.
And, but there's also like, it's up to us to know our dog. I say to train thy dog, we must know thy dog first and foremost. We have to have an understanding of their comfort levels, their personality. Are they really sensitive? Are they really shy? Are they really squeamish? There's genetics that also very much comes into play, but genetics can be upplayed or downplayed, by whatever's going on in the environment. But dogs, it's our role and our responsibility to also advocate for them. We've got to advocate for them. And when dogs do not feel advocated for, then, there's a level of trust that diminishes. There's a level of respect that diminishes, and they're not going to feel as comfortable or safe and secure following us.
Because they're not, because you have to connect with them and they have to trust that you're going to give them, their needs are met, and you're going to keep them safe, and you're not going to harm them and put them in harmful situations. So it's the trust element. I mean,
when we bring a dog into our homes, I mean, we're essentially entering into a relationship with them. And at the foundation of every sound relationship is the trust and respect factor. If you do not have trust, if you do not have respect, you've got nothing to build upon, and you've got absolutely nothing to grow from. So how do we build trust and respect? We show up consistently every single day. They have a set of instinctual needs that have to be met and fulfilled and provided for. So, it's really just of how we're showing up. And then you and I were also chatting a little bit during the break about a level of expectation. We have this level of expectation when it comes to our dogs. In order to be a good dog, you must play with other dogs, and you must be awesome with kids, and you must be this, you must be that. And we dishonor them in such a big way, because, when the individual dog might have some like quirks or some uncertainties or whatever, but if that individual dog doesn't meet our level of expectation, then it's the dog that gets judged. It's the dog that gets labeled. It's the dog that gets kicked to the curb.
Right. And have you seen situations, and I'm sure you have, where dogs can be rehabilitated? So it's not just, you don't just throw the dog out because it just didn't fit your needs. And I'm thinking like, you go to a shelter and like you're walking down and they're all excited to see you. So it's loud, right? But then you have some dogs that they're kind of sad looking and like they're not doing anything. They look kind of lethargic. You have some that are kind of moving back and forth, and they want to lick you, and there's some that kind of look aggressive. But any one of those can fit a household. It just depends like on your level of commitment.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, this is where like the state of mind it is. We cannot get an accurate assessment of a dog's true blue personality in that kind of environment, because their needs are not being met. Right. They've got all of this compounded residual energy. And it's like, it's not a good space, to get a really accurate read and accurate assessment of a dog's personality.
So you can't really base it on like their presentation.
No, because what you're seeing is just, it's symptomatic of, them, whether it's, I don't know, like betrayal, or whether it's desertion, or whether it's, just confusion, there's frustration, I'm in this strange place and I can't have my needs met. I really need to burn off some energy, but I'm constricted and confined to this teeny tiny space and I'm going out of my mind. And then they'll start, like scratching on the walls or chewing on their tail or, obsessively licking the gate or whatever. It's just they're manifestations. And that's what I say, behavior, and this is the same as that's true for human beings. I mean, behavior is a manner of expression, and it's the external manifestation of an underlying internal driving force. So, what we see on the outside, it's often reflective of what's going down within. I mean, even aggression, for example, like viciousness and aggression. Viciousness, there's a big difference between trait and behavior. Viciousness is a trait. It's very, 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 very few dogs are born with the intent to kill or cause harm. Very, very few. Aggression, on the other hand, is a conditioned response. It's a coping mechanism. It's symptomatic, usually, of underlying fear, insecurity, frustration from one or more of their needs not being met and provided for by us. That's our job. Yeah.
So really, it seems very much, it emulates the human condition, where we would actually be very symptomatic without our needs being met, suppression, learned experiences, trauma, and then it'll affect us. So what you're doing is you're applying that same concept to animals, to the dogs, and it works. I mean, I can see it. I can actually, I see exactly what you're saying, because, we were at the state fair this last, a few months ago. Texas State Fair is one of the biggest county state fairs in the nation. And they had a little exhibit for dogs, and then there's a cute Siberian Husky that's kind of laying there, and they said, please no fingers in the cage. And it's hard, people do. And so, but he's licking at the cage, exactly what you're saying. But then there's the one that's like, he's the black, muscly, pit bull type dog, and he's barking and snarling. And I was like, oh yeah, that's an aggressive dog. I mean, that's not something that but we're looking at it at face value. It's what keeps going through my head. But what you're saying is that there's a reason for that. And that's something that once we as owners and as companions feel the need for the animal, that just about any animal can be rehabilitated and be a fruitful, viable addition to your household.
Can return to balance, can return to calm. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm big on is conditioning calm. So many dogs, we unknowingly condition this on switch. There's, just like it's the yin and yang. You've got the on switch, you've got the off switch. And dogs are constantly being reinforced unknowingly for practicing escalated, excited states of mind and behaviors. Dogs, honestly, and again, much like human beings, dogs are mainly about two things: whatever it is they're going to gain from practicing something, and whatever is going to ensure their survival. That's it. So for the most part, I mean, we've got the survival bit down.
Kind of sounds like a kid.
They're yes.
It's exactly like a kid.
I'm like dog psychology and human psychology. I mean, they're vastly different, obviously.
Right.
But there's so many parallels and so many crossovers.
I see it. Yeah.
Really. And, so I'm really big on conditioning calm, because most dogs that I work with that are, just highly adrenalized or high strung or they're, jumping out of their gourds. They're just, they kind of live in the on switch headspace. It's really, really good. Like you've got to counter condition that. You've got to counter that. So if a dog is practicing super excited energy, you want to approach the dog and you want to work with the dog from a super, super calm space, kind of levels out the playing field, versus if you have like a super lethargic dog that just is totally unmotivated, doesn't want to do anything. I would probably counter that energy with a super excited energy just to help, meet him somewhere in the middle, just to get him revved up or jazzed up and motivated him somehow. So
increase energy levels through more activity, go try to get him to chase the ball, or go for a walk, or follow me, come run after me. You know what I want to get into with you on the next segment, because we're running down in about 50 seconds. But this is actually what we've been covering so far is the connection between an owner and the dog as a companion. Now I'd like for you to maybe on this next segment, if we can touch on what happens when you have other animals in the household and how do we integrate this then into our little pet family? So let's talk about that. As soon as we come back, we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano on KFXR Talk Radio 1190. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Fisher, the Radio Root Sleuth, host of Extreme Genes Family History Radio. Every week right here, we bring you the latest on how to dig up your dead, plus amazing stories of discovery and expert guests. Maybe we can help you find who you're looking for.
Tune in to the Extreme Genes Radio Show hosted by Scott Fisher, Saturday evenings at 6 p.m. on Talk Radio 1190. If you're interested in finding out where you came from, listen to Extreme Genes Radio.
Hey there.
What's up, bruh?
Hello.
Aloha.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Hola.
Hi.
It takes a lot of voices to create the sound of us. The Y welcomes all of them with open arms. From career readiness to safe spaces, the Y is there, no matter who we are. Now, more than ever, they need your support. Donate to your local Y today. The Y, for a better us.
Read by members of the Y.
Walgreens has good news for everyone who uses Medicare Part B for diabetes testing supplies. We've got your back, or in this case, your test strips. Walgreens accepts Medicare assignment and full coverage supplemental insurance, so you'll pay as low as $0 out of pocket, which is the same as mail order. Pick up the medications you rely on and save on all major brands like Contour Next and Walgreens True Metrics. That's not just good news, it's great news. Talk to your Walgreens pharmacist today. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
If you get caught drinking and driving, your social life stops, but your friends' social lives won't. Buy late curfew, buy parties with friends, buy freedom. Go to ultimatepartyfoul.org to make sure you don't get left behind.
You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano, brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hi, we are back. You are just joining us. We're visiting with Kimberly Artley. She is the Mary Poppins of dog training. And boy, I am learning a lot just in our conversations. And my own pets come to mind. But what we've covered so far is the interaction and the communication with an owner and the pets. And then, we touched on if you go to an animal shelter and you're watching these animals, like how to assess or really look at their energy level and understand that, well, if that's the one you want and like he's presenting a certain way, really it's about the dog's needs not getting met or something that's pent up, but can be worked with. Because I've seen a picture of you on the internet and there's this one that's really cool. It's my favorite. You're walking and you have all these dogs all around you and you can see you're kind of trailing away. And then there's one of a profile shot with you, and you have all these animals around you, and they're all different sizes and shapes. And I'm like, what keeps those guys from getting onto each other?
Energy,
and how satisfied I guess they are. I mean, do they feel like they're comfortable? I mean, they get out.
Well, dogs know us on a level that many of us don't even know ourselves. They know exactly who they can push around. They know exactly who they can't. Again, when I say that dog training it's like inadvertent life coaching. When we can teach the human how to step up in a more confident way, in a calmer way, in a more grounded way. And when I say grounded, I mean unemotional. I'm not trying to say, we have to be robotic human beings or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but we can feel emotions, but we can't. I mean, we shouldn't live there, and we cannot lead and we cannot guide from an emotional headspace, right? There's a big difference between a boss and a leader. Usually bosses are, people that tend to bark out orders, that pun intended,
right?
Bark out orders from
I've had plenty of those bosses. Yep. Right. Yes. I know the type.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they tend to, I mean, they're usually just pretty insecure people that, need to, they're trying to, fluff themselves up and just look bigger than they really feel about themselves,
Right.
But leadership is a far different beast. I mean, leadership it's an approach, it's a mindset, it's how you show up. There's an energy behind it. And dogs, that's what dogs respond to. And when we were talking about the communication bit earlier, our primary form of language is verbal. But, when I'm working with a dog, I could be talking in like Swahili or Japanese, or it doesn't matter.
Right. They don't speak English. They don't speak a certain language.
No.
And you made a really cool comment the other day, and I'm sorry, I don't want to throw you off, but you made a really cool comment the other day about the power of the leash and what that is. Can you explain that again?
Yeah. Okay. So the leash, in my opinion, is probably one of the most abused dog training tools that are out there. Especially like retractable leashes. I cannot stand them. Please put them away.
Really? No good?
Oh, no bueno.
Oh, dude.
Bueno.
Wow, there goes my 20-footer.
I mean, if you're teaching your dog to swim, sure, whip out the retractable. But, there's an entire conversation that's going on during a dog walk. Who's leading who? What pushy, testy behavior will gain the dog? Again, we're talking about, what it is that they're gaining when they're practicing certain states of mind and behavior, whether it be attention, affection, forward movement, meals, treats, privileges, like jumping on the couches, jumping on the furniture, getting up on your level on the bed, all of those things, whatever it is that they're gaining. But during the walk, I mean, everything that we do with a dog is an entire conversation. There is always some sort of dialogue going down, unbeknownst to many people. And the ritual of the walk actually starts inside the house behind closed doors before we even step outside. And we typically, what many people do is they start to create a lot of excitement before they even go outside on the walk. So they'll start with like, you want to go for a walk? You want to go for a walk? Who wants to go for a walk? You want to go? Okay, now my dogs just jumped up. They were like, hey, yeah, we're down. Let's go. No.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, they're hearing you.
Not time, buddy.
Oh, that's
Not
cute.
time, bud.
What's funny? You said the other day that owning a dog is the only thing that can make people talk like Smurfs. And it's true, right? You hear that cute, little baby.
There's something about a dog that makes everybody want to talk like a Smurf. And that's what they respond to. Like, I can create a bunch of excitement if I talk like this, Right. Or I can ground out my vocal tone and my inflection and my pitch. And there's a very different message that comes across when I do that. So, there's a big difference between sit, no, sit. Okay.
Are your boys listening to you?
Yeah.
Are they listening to you? Oh, that's
no. They're not.
Okay.
They're just like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. No.
It's like it's not time for that.
Like, she's going out of her mind. We don't know that.
That's cute.
But there's a difference between that and sit, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, there's a different energy. There's a different intention. There's a very different conversation that's going on there.
So voice tonations.
Voice inflection, pitch and tone is a big one. One denotes like something that can be negotiated. One, it's, I'm asking you, pretty please sit, please. And then the other is sit down. This is not negotiable.
This is no nonsense.
This is, yeah. And a dog.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not about like, I'm asserting myself over you because you're my dog, but it's about trust. It's about respect. It's about, I'm going to give you directives. I'm going to tell you how to navigate the world around you. I'm going to tell you how to develop. I'm going to help you develop your self-concept. I'm going to help you develop your world concept. I want you to look to me for all of your cues, all of your directives, your guidance for how to feel about each and every scenario you enter into. I want you to look for me because you can trust me. I've got your back. and I can totally handle whatever may come our way.
Interesting.
So that leadership and
yeah, makes sense.
There's a natural order and a natural structure to how everything operates in the animal kingdom and to how everything operates out in nature. And, you know, it is what it is. And they are living in a very, we're living in a very far from instinctual environment. And we're living
big time.
from a very,
we're out of our element completely with these devices and running on time and working past the sundown.
And running on empty.
Right, exactly. And nutrition and all that stuff. I mean, we're completely out of our element. But
absolutely.
I can imagine it's the same for dogs. What about bringing a dog into a household with other pets? And is there a way to kind of integrate them like effectively?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you've got to have a sense, of course, of the dispositions and the personalities. But I mean, our job and our role. Our Joel.
My dog has big jowls.
Our job and our role is to manage the energy, to manage and control the state of mind of our dogs. Just like with kids, there's a time and place. And, you know, we don't release our kids out into the playground and just let them go balls to the wall. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can say that, but
you're fine.
Just you know what I mean. I mean, just to let them go.
Let's
crazy,
go, survive,
wild,
go for it.
Yeah, run amok and do whatever you want without supervision. You know, so it's our role. It's our role and responsibility to manage and control their state of mind, to manage and control the energy in a group setting, and introduce and integrate, like, especially when it comes to new dogs, when you're introducing new dogs together. Yeah. When I do that, it's very, very structured. It's not like I'm going to wing it. I'm just going to let them see how they like each other and go from there. No, you do it in a very structured, very respectful manner. And, you know, I don't know how really to describe it, but it's just, you know, I mean, for example, I know my dogs. I know their triggers. I know what they're comfortable with. I know their comfort levels. Right. You know, a new dog coming in, I might not have a very strong sense of who the new dog is. So usually I'll do introductions and I'll utilize the leash. We started to talk about that earlier, but we got off topic. Yeah. But, you know, I use the leash inside the house and to communicate with dogs, you know, just as much as I use them for outside the house. You know, we're talking again, I think it's important to note just before we get off topic again, but I mean, a lot of people use the leash to restrict or to physically manhandle or restrain their dog. There's constant tension on the leash. Tension begets tension, right?
And some of those are awful because they have like these spikes, these chain links that dig into the skin. And I'm like, dude, it looks like that dog looks like a thug. I mean, it looks like a killer.
Thug life. Yeah, no. I will say this, you know, I think what you're referring to is the prong collar. And here we go, because we're going to get off topic. We're going to get off topic again. Here we go. No, it's awesome. It's all good. I mean, it's things just keep rolling. But what many people don't realize, I love the prong collar.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Oh yeah. But see, the prong collar is designed the way that it is because it's supposed to mimic another dog's mouth. Dogs use their mouths to correct one another.
I never knew that.
They use their mouths to correct one another. It's a very clear way to communicate with the dog. And it's honestly the difference that I've seen when I'm using, this is the problem with prong collars and e-collars too. The problem with dog training tools is one, they were used by heavy-handed punishment style old school trainers way back in the day. So the tools themselves developed a bad reputation. And two, they are readily and easily accessible by every Dick, Harry, and Jane that think that they have a problem dog and they think that a tool is going to solve their problem. So without learning the ins and outs of the tool, without educating themselves on how to properly fit it, how to introduce it, how to condition the dog, there's an entire language that we develop. When I'm using any tool, whether it be a crate, a leash, a training collar, anything, there's an association development phase, there's a conditioning phase, and there's a proofing phase. And most people, they skip all that. They get a prong collar off of Walmart.com or Amazon.com or wherever. Yeah. They slap it on the dog and they just start jerking it around. And that is not the way that it's supposed to be used. And unfortunately, it's the collar And it's the tool that gets blamed when it's not ever the tool. It is the human, the energy, and the intention behind the tool.
That's it.
It's not the tool.
It's not the tool.
Human, the energy.
Hold that thought for 1 second. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
After work.
See you guys tomorrow.
After picking up the kids. After a long day.
Let's see what's going on here.
Hear Michael Berry.
You got to get after it.
The Michael Berry Show, weekdays at 5 on Talk Radio 1190.
At Progressive, we think your floral boutique is the bee's knees. In fact, it's all the bee's knees in every hive of bees in all the trees from here to Belize. Please. Everyone agrees. You deserve the expertise of Progressive Business Insurance, with over 40 years of experience helping busy bees and their knees glide with ease like a gentle breeze. So whether you're a worker bee, a queen, or none of these, buzz over to ProgressiveCommercial.com if you please. Faster than a bee's knees as he pollinates the leaves of 3 trees. Progressive Casualty Insurance and Affiliates.
Life doesn't stop for car trouble, work, school, dentist appointments, the workout you wouldn't mind skipping. Our cars connect us to our lives, so wouldn't it be reassuring to know that our cars are up to the job? Enter Hum by Verizon, the technology that connects you to your car. Now you can check your car's health from your phone with vehicle diagnostics. Get advice on the go with a certified mechanics hotline. And if Hum detects a collision, it can send help automatically with 24/7 emergency assistance. Get Hum and get where you're going. Learn more at hum.com.
Real Texas. Real talk. Talk Radio 1190.
You're listening to the Therapy Hour with Rusty Lozano. Brought to you by the Center for Biofeedback and Behavior Therapy in Addison, Texas.
Hello, welcome back. This is our last segment on our topic of dogs and Kimberly Artley, the Mary Poppins of dog training. She's awesome. Really practical, really cool information. The information just kind of flows. You're just so full of, I don't want to say this as don't take that out of context, but you're so full of it. You have a lot of really good information that you're giving us. And boy, I'm learning quite a bit, you know? And I think
that's so great.
I mean, it's interesting how the parallels between psychology and what everything you're describing. So I want to talk to you about something. I just got your book, My Dog, My Buddha, Kimberly Artley, and you can find this book on, is it packfit.net?
Yeah, there's a link. Yeah, there's a link on my website, packfit.net, where it'll take you to a different site to purchase the book. And there's everybody gets their choice of one of 3 covers. I couldn't decide which one I liked best. I loved all of them. So
they're all great.
I was like, oh, thanks. Yeah. I was like, how cool would it be to just allow people the opportunity to choose the cover that, speaks to them. So everybody gets their choice of cover.
And that's Packfit, PACKFIT.net. So let's talk a little bit of, literally just somebody put this book on my desk and I knew it was coming. And I read the excerpt on how all of this started for you. You've been around, you have a lot of great media, you have a following, and I can tell you're passionate about what you do. But how did all this start for you? Like, what got you involved with have you always been a dog person, or did something happen that kind of put this all into play for you?
Well, both. In my previous life, I coached humans. I life coached, and my background's also nutrition and stress management, all that good stuff. So, and one of the most popular questions I used to get was, I don't know what to do with my life. I don't know what my purpose is. I want to know what my purpose is. And I would always encourage that people think back to their childhood and just reflect on what it was that they used to do, what they naturally gravitated towards. Like, what was that thing that you used to do that you would lose all sense of time and you were just in your total bliss? And, because often we're directed, in a different direction by our parents, by, culture, society, other people's definitions of success and what, a career should look like, and so on and so forth. And for me, I surrounded myself with animals. I loved animals. I used to bring home, animals that I was, saving from the road or saving from wherever. And, bless my mother's heart. But I always gravitated towards animals. And where I got my first solo responsibility dog was a dog named Lobo. And he's who I refer to as my game changer dog. He was one of my greatest teachers. I mean, every single dog that comes into our lives and comes under our care is always going to teach us something new. They're always going to require something new and something different of us. That's how I believe that dogs really, really help facilitate our own personal growth and evolution. And this dog, he basically, I was married at the time, and he was basically fulfilling an emotional space, which, this is common. People get dogs to fulfill their own emotional needs without giving a second thought as to what the dog's needs are. But, my husband and I were two very different people. He was very much an indoorsy kind of guy. I'm very much not. I'm an outdoorsy kind of girl. So I got a dog, and Lobo became my sidekick, my BFF. He went everywhere with me, did everything with me. He was constantly getting exposed to different people, different dogs, different environments and scenarios. We hiked together, we jogged together, we did everything together. And a few weeks before we decided to divorce, a new puppy came into the mix, Tucker, and Lobo was amazing with him. But when the divorce went down, I became unhinged, and I lost myself. I lost my footing. I lost my grounding. I became a nervous, anxious, stressed out, just wreck of a person. And so, who was once a well-rounded, balanced, calm, just all around awesome dog, suddenly became overly protective and aggressive. And in my mindset at the time, I was like, oh my God, what is wrong with my dog? My dog needs fixing. My dog needs training. My dog needs help. And this is very, very common with people. They think that it's just the dog. And I bounced from trainer to trainer to trainer to trainer, trying to quote unquote fix my dog. All of the trainers harped on obedience training. And there's two different shades of dog training. There's obedience training, and there's state of mind conditioning and behavior shaping. We cannot solve behavioral issues with obedience training. It's just they're going to play a factor into it, but it's like trying to solve psychological issues with, like, if you have a problem child, it's like sending your problem child or psychologically challenged child to a teacher instead of a therapist. So obedience training is training the brain. They learn 2 + 2, what the square root of 81 is, how to divide 208 by 4, and how to punctuate, how to spell, all of that stuff. That's what teachers teach. But it's also, state of mind conditioning and behavior shaping. That's the role of in the case of a human child, the role of the parent.
Interesting. That's an interesting comparison. It really is.
Two critical ingredients that every single trainer missed. And the last one was a 2-week board and train program. And Lobo, he responded well. When he was there, he responded well. He was around other dogs. The trainer, there was no threats. As soon as he returned back to me, he went right back to his other behaviors. There was a lot of information there that I did not see, and that nobody was aware. Nobody put 2 and 2 together. So all of those trainers missed the state of mind aspect of things. He was a well-trained dog, but he was not a well-behaved dog. There's a big difference. And they missed the part that I played in influencing and impacting his behavior. Because there is a natural order and structure to how dogs operate, and because they do operate very much on a hierarchical system, there was a void in the leadership position. Every pack, every human family has a parent or a set of parents meeting and providing for the rest of the needs of the household, of the dependents. Every canine pack has an alpha or a mating pair of alphas who provide and meet the needs for the rest of their pack. They, their structure, their rules, their boundaries, there's discipline, there's, all of that stuff. And because I lost my, I lost my footing, I became unhinged and ungrounded. Lobo was like, okay, there's no captain steering this ship. Somebody's got to do it. Might as well be me. And it's in their DNA to assume that role if there's a vacancy. It's not personal. It's primal. It's just their genetics.
Resort back to their what they're designed to do is instinctually like survive.
Yeah, and there's we're essentially, it's like if there's no captain steering the ship, we're all gonna die.
Yeah, right.
So I mean, he took on that role, but and this is where dogs become even more imbalanced and insecure and just aggressive and all of that because of all the pressure. They don't understand how to navigate our world like we do. They don't understand how to navigate our world like we do. So they're going to become even more insecure. They're going to become even more frustrated and imbalanced and stressed out because they're leading us in a world that they don't even fully understand. So
yeah,
it's
exactly. Jeez.
He taught me a lot, and unfortunately, I mean, writing, I wrote his stories up on my website, and I wrote that because I feel like so many people can identify with it. I didn't know what to do. I spent thousands of dollars trying to quote unquote fix him, and and he ended up biting somebody, and he lost his life early, and it took a bit down. Yeah, it took me many, many years to forgive myself because honestly, I always say this. I mean, and to people, we don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know until we do know, and then when we do know, we can make different choices and adjustments. But had I known then what I know now, shoot, that wouldn't have even been an issue. And had I known then what I know now, if it had become an issue, I would have easily been able to fix it. But I didn't know then what I know now. So my goal is to equip people with the necessary tools, the information, with everything that they need, so that this scenario, to prevent this kind of scenario from even happening in the first place.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah. It even happened in a relationship that I was in prior to my marriage. He was such a cool dog, but he got out and he bit a kid and they put him down, it happens. Yes. Very, very common. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things that feed into why a dog chooses to do something. They have the ability to choose one way or otherwise, but it's just, but we've got to equip them. We've got to set them up. We've got to help them to develop, again, a healthy self-concept, a healthy world concept, and the difference between appropriate and inappropriate. It's just,
so that's, to me, what that screams out is attentive. You have to be attentive with your dog and be there with them and really companionize. I mean, you're
guide them, lead them.
Exactly. Yes. Lead them. I love that. I mean, it's exactly what you're saying. And it's like so hands-on.
We are loving our dogs to the point of instability and insecurity and frustration and stress and anxiety and fear and all of that stuff. We are loving them to that point because our definition of love, we're like, I don't get it. Like, he has all these toys. He has all these chewies. He gets to hop all over the furniture. He sleeps with me in bed at night. And, and I don't understand like why he hates other people, or I don't understand this and that. But, dogs, they don't, we have to redefine what love means when it comes to our dogs.
Yeah,
we've got to meet their needs first and foremost so that we can help them. When I'm describing state of mind, I always use like a rating scale. So if you think about it, in between, like a rating scale between 0 and 10, it's up to us to provide them with what they need to hover in between like a 0 and a 5. That's where they're cool, calm, and collected, and they possess a better ability to make good, sound choices. But, you know, as soon as they start to creep up above that, a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, they're escalating in state of mind. They're building excited energy. Their ability to make good sound choices starts to diminish significantly.
Right.
There's a big difference in my mind between a response and a reaction. A response comes from a more grounded, calmer, cooler headspace. Reaction, on the other hand, is emotionally charged. It's adrenalized. It's an off-the-cuff response, you know? And, you know, in the case of humans, more often than not, we end up regretting having a reaction, you know? So it's, a lot of people will, you know, for people that are a little tuned into this, will be like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take some time to cool off. I'm going to go take a bath. I'm going to go take a jog. I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm going to just come back to zero, and we'll reapproach the situation, you know, after some time has passed. I really need to gather my thoughts and get myself together.
Well, listen, Kimberly, I want to really thank you for being on the show. I personally have learned so much by the information you've shared, and
I'm so glad.
Your book, so rich. My Dog, My Buddha, Too Human, Love Dog by Kimberly Artley. Your website is packfit.net. That's PACKFIT.net. And listen, guys, now that we've really breached this conversation and you've learned and you have some insightful information, give your dog a big hug. You know, fresh starts. You know, forgive him for chewing up your shoe and take him out of the cage, and you know, spend some time to learn how to improve communication in your relationship. And that's really what I'm taking away from this visit. But Kimberly, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Have a great afternoon. Thank you for listening.